This podcast was brought to you by Uncle Geeb Productions. Welcome, everyone, to the Drip Geeb Podcast. I'm your host, Uncle Geeb, and with me is Mr. Drip Media Gaming. We record this podcast live every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. On today's show, we had a partner direct this morning. I watched it. I got up. I watched it. I fell right back asleep. I was like a little baby. But the partner direct happened. It was a little bit early in the morning, so if you guys, depending where you live, depends what time it was. But yeah, partner direct happened. We're going to talk about that. We had some, obviously, news from that. Plenty to go over there. Also some news from Xbox and PlayStation coming over, which pertain to Switch and don't pertain to Switch in a relevant way. So we'll talk about that. And there's a big rumor we'll talk about at the very end. And we'll just talk about the Nintendo 2024 and how things have kind of changed in our eyes. But first,
or 2025. Who knows?
Who knows? Drip. How are you doing? Why are you ruining my intros?
Because it went on too long. So I was just cutting in and ending it for you. I'm doing great, though. I've had a very busy week. I am changing everything. As you can see, I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, you can kind of see it on the stream. You see one of the lights. It is very different down here. It is quite different down here. That room is a mess. We're working on that, but I'm going to have a lot more places to stream from. I was thinking about, you said something the other night that I thought was really cool. I was thinking about if I do that area over there, maybe that's where I'll do the podcast from. Maybe in the nice warm area over there.
Yes.
With the nice warm light and the wood background and stuff. Maybe, but we're going to have a lot more places. I'm working on that. I have to get it done, dude. I have to. It's like, it's so bad over there. It's it's bad, but that's about it. How has your week been?
My week. How was my week? It's only Wednesday. So these questions are weird now that we do the pod, because we actually talked about this in the pre-show. We used to do these podcasts on Fridays. So when we asked how our week was going, that's because it was the end of the week. It was Friday night. And like now that we asked this, as we've been going on with this podcast, it's Wednesday night, and it's like there's still 2 whole more days in the work week.
Geeb, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
How was the end of your week last week, and how's the beginning of your week going so far?
I wish I could remember that far back. I don't remember how last week was.
Yeah, I don't even know what I did
as far as how this week has gone so far, okay, it's getting warmer outside, so I've been walking, which has been awesome. I miss walking. It's been so goddamn cold in the Chicagoland area, and currently it's rocking 50 degrees, and today was like 60 degrees, like on the nose. It was a wonderful.
We need to really get
walk.
back on the daily walks, man.
Yeah, my body is in shambles. I need to reel back in. I feel like I'm 45 years old, like physically.
Okay, that's it.
I'm not even 30 yet, and I need to get back in. So like,
it's daily walks.
I need to do Ring Fit.
And then I was gonna say we're back on Ring Fit. We're back on Ring Fit next week.
Get back on there, Drip. Get back on the Ring Fit horse.
We're on it.
It's in its box. It was a sad moment when I put it back in its box because I'm like, I'm too fat. I'm not playing this game. And I put it in the unfinished bathroom upstairs on the main floor the other day. Like, we'll just put this in here and close the door. It's not a big deal. I think I took the cartridge out of my Switch case and put it into its like Switch, like my travel Switch case, and I put it back on the shelf. I'm like, I'm not touching this game.
It's in the vault. It's basically in the vault.
It's in the vault. Yeah, I need to dig it back out there, but
that's funny.
No. Yeah, so my week's been good. I've been walking again. I don't know. I feel weird today. Today's been a weird day as far as like my mental brain, because like I woke up for the direct. I was gonna try to stay up. It's only like 8 a.m. It wasn't that early. Excuse me, but my body was like, "Yo, you need another hour," and then it turned into like 2. And I was like, "This is
that's fine, dude. It happens.
It's a problem." I had to peel myself out to go for that walk today. When I was on my high horse with the walking, I would get up like no later than 9 p.m. in the morning, and I would immediately go walk. Like that was like roll out, put shoes on, go walk. That was like my routine to get myself like up and going for the day. And that since it's got so cold, my routine is just failed. So we're trying to bring that back up. But
yeah, I mean, I'm the same way. We're gonna get there. We're gonna get back to walking. That was great.
I got a reason to wake up tomorrow. I got work to do. So we got a video.
You do.
So that'll be fun. Speaking of fun, partner direct. Was actually really good. I think
Dude,
let's talk about that.
Surprisingly good. But I want to talk about the most important part of this direct. I fucking got it right. I said this is the day that it would happen. I said it on January 24th. I just want to make that known. January 24th, I said it would be the 21st. What's today, right? That's what I said. The 21st.
That's what you said.
What happened? What happened?
It was the 21st. You got it right.
I'm a leaker. We talked about this last week. So now, if any of you need to know anything about what's going to be happening with Nintendo from now on, all you have to do is just ask me. I know everything. I'm a leaker. Clearly. Everybody else said it was last week or the week before, and they were wrong. And I was right, Geeb. I was right.
You were right.
I'm a leaker.
You were right. I will say this, though. Well, actually, no, we'll save that conversation because I do want to talk about this. We did get 2 of those Xbox games today in that direct because remember last week or the was it the week before they announced it, and then last week the podcast happened. Philly,
they announced it the week before.
Slick Philly said in the podcast that 4 games, unnamed 4 games, were coming to other platforms. Was very vague about it, but the rumors and leaks were saying that those 4 games were Hi-Fi Rush, Sea of Thieves, Pentiment,
yes,
and what's the other one?
Grounded.
So those are the 4 games that they leaked out, and apparently those were spot on because today there was announcements in the direct. We had announced that Pentiment is actually coming tomorrow. It'll be available tomorrow, and Grounded was going to be available later this year, and that looks really good.
Yeah, have you not seen it before?
Never.
Man, yeah, I wanted to play it when I had Game Pass, but I never did. It does look cool. I think Moran said he played it for a while. Tried the beta or something, but they opened the direct with that.
They did.
They came straight out of the gates with it. I thought that was interesting.
It's a great looking game.
Yeah.
And I will say this, that 2 games, one in particular was heavily rumored for Switch. Everybody agreed that it seemed like the most Switchy-like game that could be put on the system, and it's not there. But it was announced today separately that I don't know who announced it when and where and why, but I do know for a fact that it was confirmed Hi-Fi Rush and Sea of Thieves are coming to PlayStation 5.
Did you get the dates on those? I meant to ask you that earlier.
I did not. I don't think it's really relevant, but it's coming this year.
No, that's not. I'm curious just because, you know.
Yeah. Because you have PS5.
Yeah, I want to play Hi-Fi Rush.
Yeah, so that is interesting, Drew. Let's talk about that for a moment. The fact that, and I'll say this, guys, the fact that it was announced, that the 2 games were announced for Switch, but the other 2 weren't, that means to me that they're just not coming, period, to Switch. Now, that doesn't mean that they're not coming to Nintendo platforms, but I'm saying they're not coming.
Clarify what you mean, because you said that to me earlier, and I was like, what? That's crazy. But then, yeah, I never meant that. I meant like they're not coming to the Switch right now, but they're probably coming to the platforms eventually. But that's kind of the nail in the coffin for Switch as far as how we know it now. We're not getting Sea of Thieves or Hi-Fi Rush. They're waiting because they put it right on PS5. Why wouldn't they just put it on Switch too? Probably because they don't want to really spend the development on it. No, of course they don't. It doesn't make any sense to do it right now. I mean, okay, let's go back and look at the other games that Xbox has put on Switch. Mm-hmm. We've got the Ori games, but those are games that clearly they did spend a ton of time getting ready for the Switch because Ori and what's the second one? Will o' the Wisps, the second one?
Yep.
Runs that has no business doing what it does on the Switch.
One of the best games to play on the Switch OLED.
Oh my God. Doubt. It looks amazing and it runs fantastic. It's crazy. It's crazy how good it is. But I mean, think about it. Even if it's not next month, we're going to talk about that later. Even if it's not next month that they announce the Switch 2 or whatever it's going to be, the Switch is almost done. Why put that much money into development for a game when you could just wait and not have to put that much money in? Because it's going to run way more easily on a new system that you don't have to try so hard to strip down. And get, it doesn't make sense. So, yeah, I mean, we're going to see them. I think you're right. It's not coming to the Switch. But, I mean, it's not like these are the only ones either. You know what I mean? There's going to be more.
Yeah, there'll be more. Yeah, I don't really know.
Other than the Xbox games, what stood out to you?
I don't really want to name anything in particular because that'll be a long time. But I will say this. There's a few of them that were really good, and all of them were good. I didn't see one game that I was like, why is this here? I think this is a really, really strong partner direct.
It really was.
Like,
honestly.
it truly
Yeah.
was. But it was as strong as a partner direct could be. It's kind of like when you're rating fast food sandwiches. You know, it's burgers, for example. You're not your scale is for fast food burgers.
It's that type of
not
scale.
like the best burgers you're ever gonna have or have had. So yeah, on the scale of partner direct, it was as good as it can get. I think.
What did that tell you in text today? B minus.
Yeah. I think that's the ceiling. I think is B plus. You can't give a partner direct an A, or what could they do? I mean, like maybe you could if there was like Silk Song or just as example,
that would have been like a big one to put there,
pick your game that could be announced like a big franchise that's third party. Yeah, I mean maybe that's what makes
Hyrule
it
Warriors 3.
Yeah, like that's what would make it like an A partner direct. But like besides that. This is the ceiling. It's as good as it gets. Like, this is an awesome partner direct.
I mean, a few I just want to name really quick. Grounded, that's cool. The Epic Mickey remaster, I see that in the chat. Yes, awesome. That looks sick. The 2 Star Wars Battlefront games that are coming next month, I am really, really excited about those. Yeah. There are a few more, but the last game, the Endless Ocean game, which is actually a Nintendo game, correct?
So I have it pulled up here. So on my Switch, it's not.
It's published by Nintendo.
So it looks to me, it's published by Nintendo. And then so that's the very top of the Switch listing here. Then you go to the bottom here because this is a pre-order right now on the eShop. It's not available pre-order though. It looks like at the very bottom it says Nintendo /ARIKA. Arika maybe. Erica?
Yeah, I don't know. Okay,
so maybe it's like it is still a partner game, but it's not a completely. It's probably like Pokemon, right? You know?
And they've done that too. They put stuff in partner directs and indies and stuff that they've published. Smaller stuff that they've helped publish. They've done that before, but this was a game. I guess this is a new one, but there was an older one on the Wii.
Correct.
That looks cool. I like. Oh, one more. I gotta just mention.
Sure.
The crab game.
Yeah,
the Souls style crab game. We saw that back somewhere. I got a date. Super pumped about that. That looks badass. And one
more for me. I'll name out the one Pepper Grinder. That looks like some sort of Metroidvania or 2D platform.
Is that the one where when she tried to fight, like the ghosts appeared and like fought for her?
I don't remember, but the whole
it was the second game. That's not that was a different one.
This game is like she turns into like a drill and she's grinding down into like the ground.
Yeah. I'm getting it mixed up with the second one they showed right after Grounded. I can't remember the name of it, but it was a
Pepper Grinder
style.
Was another one. I think is that the same studio as Code of Lamb? That one. What's their name?
Devolver Digital.
Yeah, is that Devolver Digital Pepper Grinder? I think it's Devolver.
I don't know.
I don't remember.
Honestly, don't know.
I just know
sounds like a name of one of their games though. So I
just remember
I wouldn't know.
That
be surprised.
Was also previously announced in a direct where I believe the crab game was an indie direct, I think, but I'm not sure about that. But either way, that game looks great, and that's all we're really talking about that. But I mean, again, lots of great stuff, like multiple stuff I think I would pick up. I think there's a game probably for everybody in this direct. No farming sims,
dude. That's what I'm saying. It had something for everybody. It was a good direct. Anybody bitching about this direct, like, come on.
Yeah,
like for what I was expecting, it was amazing. I mean, honestly, I had my ceiling was at the floor, man. I didn't expect anything good. I was pleasantly surprised. It was good.
Do you want to quickly address the fact that last week's podcast was titled "Last"? Have we seen the last Nintendo Direct? Or whatever it was titled, it was something like the effect of
no
more Nintendo Directs. And obviously, I think if you guys watch the episode, if you know us, we didn't mean there's never going to be a Nintendo Direct. What we meant was there would be no more directs for the Nintendo Switch, which. We didn't, and that includes
for
Nintendo. So that also includes
putting out first-party games.
Right. That's the focus there for a direct. We were talking about first-party Nintendo presenting their own direct. This was not that. This was Nintendo presenting the partners, the people who make games for Switch direct. And indie game would be the same thing. We're not talking about that. We were talking about Nintendo has nothing left to show, and technically, we're right about that still, is that it's the possibility that there is no more Nintendo Directs is, I think, even more possible that could come to fruition now that we've seen it's a partner direct and no first-party games were announced, unless you think that C1 is, but it's not.
I mean, technically, whatever. It's public. Who cares? It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
it's not a Mario. It's not a Zelda.
Right.
It's not a Splatoon. It's not a Donkey Kong.
You can argue about semantics all day long if you want. I'm sure every
one-off thing they did on the Wii.
Well,
Yeah,
Nintendo
it's whatever.
owns 1% stake in this company,
Yeah,
so
okay,
is that
wonderful? Yeah, like what the fuck ever. But that's the thing. And I know we're going to get into this a little bit more later, but like, who knows? Maybe we are going to get an actual direct. Like, I mean, there's leaks now. What? First party direct? When? What's the thing I sent earlier? Where is it at? Why can't I find it? First party direct at Indie World at the end of March or early April. Then a Nintendo Direct in April and Switch 2 reveal in June.
I mean, that's not exact.
It's so funny because literally last week, we were saying, oh, it's going to be released in March. It's going to be March.
Not released,
it's going to be announced. Yeah, announced in March. And then halfway through the end of last week, oh, no, it's delayed to 2025. And now this shit today, it's going to be June. Like,
announced in June.
Yeah, announced in June. Yeah, obviously announced. Yeah, they're not going to release it in June. I mean, I figure if they're going to release it at any point this year, it's going to be for the holiday. It's just, we'll get into that later. So, I mean, who knows? I felt way more solid about us saying that last week. And I'm trying not to like take all these leaks and be like, oh, well, this, because like somebody's wrong here. You know what I mean? Like somebody's wrong because there's so many people saying so many different things. I don't know. Usually you got a lot of people kind of coming out and saying, and I know that's happened a little bit here. You got a lot of people coming out and saying like, oh yeah, well, I've heard the same thing. I've heard that too. Bigger places will say, yes, I can confirm that is what I have heard as well. Then you start to, I don't know, but there's like every one of these has that. So what is it? I don't know. I don't know what to think.
What a lovely tangent that ends with, I don't know.
I don't know. I honestly don't know where to go with it. I have no freaking idea.
Yeah.
Like, I'm so confused now because I literally a week ago, I could have told you we're going to see this thing next month. We're going to get a partner direct. Partner direct tells us that they're not going to be able to sustain us with their own games for a full year. So they got to get this thing out so they can start showing their games for this thing and get us excited for that. Right? That makes sense.
I think it's fair to say, Drip, that you are overwhelmed with the information. Is that a fair assessment of what's happening?
I am, I don't know. Maybe not overwhelmed. I'm whelmed. I'm whelmed. I mean, maybe slightly whelmed. Maybe not. I don't know if I would go overwhelmed.
Where I'm sitting with this, with all this information, I think if you, and I'm guilty of this a lot, of just headline reading because there's so many headlines and articles you got to read. Doing what we do is sometimes you just kind of maybe read one of them and then the rest of the topic, you're researching, you just kind of read headlines and compare. So, I think if you headline read, you read it like the Switch is coming out in 2025, or even sometimes you can read it as it's not being even announced until 2025. It's all about how you kind of perceive, how the person who wrote the article perceives it, and how you, when you read it,
really how much clickbait are they trying to get?
Right. And I think it's kind of gone off in many splinters, and that's what the kind of you're talking about, how it's just there's so much out there. I don't think there's that much information. I think it's really kind of like one or two pieces that everybody's running with their own perspective. Here we are guilty of the same thing, making a podcast about it. So here's another splinter, another splinter off, so to confuse people. But I always encourage people, no matter if we're talking about games, politics, sports, doesn't matter what you're talking about, what you're passionate about, make sure that what you're doing is not just watching the news and taking it for God's word, or just reading a headline and saying that's what I believe now. You read an article and you look for the quotes. Mm-hmm. Read what people are saying. If there are no quotes, then the whole thing you take with the absolute biggest grain of salt you possibly can have. If there's no quotes in it, which most leaks have no quotes. So, but anyway, point is, when you're reading something out there, no matter what it is, you read the article, you skim for the quotes. You read the quotes, perceive it for yourself, read the quote, digest it, understand it, and then make your educated guess or opinion based off of that. Then you can still read the article, get their perspective on it, but you got to understand, when you're reading an article, it's a person's perspective. You cannot take that for your own. You need your own perspective. That's how things work. That's how it should work, in my opinion. So, I guess some people out there think that everybody should have the same opinion. I guess, walking around like drones, that's fine. But no, you have your own opinion.
10 drones, dude. That's what we do.
That's right. No, get your own opinion. So find the quotes, read the articles, but take it for a grain of salt.
Yeah.
So how that pertains to the Switch 2 here, how I've perceived this information that's been thrown at me is, I've read contradicting things, so it's hard for me to understand whether people are saying for sure it's delayed or it's a speculative it's being delayed because the third-party devs were told to wait or that their games are not coming out till 2025. I've heard contradicting things. I've heard confusing things. It's hard to understand. But the way I perceived it is that it's still open for interpretation, that maybe what it might mean is that these third-party devs are told that their games will be slotted for 2025. But that doesn't mean that the first-party stuff Nintendo is planning isn't coming. That is coming in 2025. Right. It's possible that they're being pushed because Nintendo's stuff need to be pushed. Maybe here's an example of how it could have went down. Nintendo was kind of slotting their games to coming out this summer, and now they're realizing that's not going to happen because they want to have a nice buildup of a catalog for when the Switch 2 drops. And they're realizing now that they're not going to have that catalog built up enough, so they're going to push their own games back, which also means the other devs, third-party stuff they're working on, they're being told to push their stuff back. So it's possible either way. It's possible that means Nintendo's waiting to put their games out in 2025, March-ish, and these other devs are going to put their games out sometime the same time or after. Or it means that Nintendo's giving themselves still the priority slot of holiday 2024. That means the Switch 2 is going to be announced before then and put out before then as well.
Well, and they could also have other partners they've already had, because they didn't tell not every place got this information, correct?
Yeah. I think people have
supposed
said
information.
Five is what people.
So they may already have certain partners lined up for they may have these games already slotted in. Like everybody's like, this is when they're happening. Like, you don't have to worry about it yet. Just wait. Like whatever. I mean, that could be it too. You're right. I hope that's what it is.
I hope that's what it is too.
I hope that's what it is.
It's still possible that it's not, and it's possible that it is. It's impossible, Drip, to know. That's the bottom line. That is true. That's the bottom line. Anybody's trying to sell you that, sell you otherwise, is doing you a disservice, and we're not going to do that. I mean,
just think about this though, because we're talking about the title of the episode here. I mean, the worst year of gaming ever.
Oh yeah.
Like we are in a place where we could possibly not see the Switch 2 until it's almost 8 years old. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
We've got Xbox out here listen, Nintendo's fine. Don't get me wrong. They're fine. Xbox out here was in the worst position of everybody, but now it seems like they're kind of the smartest ones of everybody at this point, putting their games out, making money on other people's platforms. They're kind of winning right now, a little bit, right? And then we've got Sony.
Well, hold on. I want to dive on that a little bit.
I will say this. Clearly, they're putting their games on other platforms because they're not selling enough on their own and they're not getting enough from Game Pass.
Yeah.
But to just kind of throw in the white flag and say, listen, we're going to put all these games other places. We're going to start doing it. We're going to start getting revenue from everybody else to make up for they kind of look like the smart ones at this point. Nintendo's waiting another year possibly. Sony just came out and said they're not going to be putting out a first-party game this year. Like whatever is out is out. Like that is crazy, man. And supposedly, wild. I don't know if you heard this rumor. Supposedly, we're going to get a PS5 Pro.
I saw that rumor. Lots of rumors this week. It's just flying. The gaming space is just flying around.
Dude. Like, why? You're not even putting out a motherfucking game. Why would you put out a PS5 Pro? That's insane.
That is crazy. I mean, the literally whole thing, crazy. Why would you do that?
The entire gaming, it's so weird right now. It is so weird because we're in a place where, I mean, I'm going to use you as an example. I'm going to use you as an example. Now, at this point, you've got a PC and you've got a Switch.
Yes.
You don't have an Xbox. Had Game Pass, got rid of it, didn't use it, didn't want it. Never had a PS5.
Want one.
Want one. Don't have one. Yeah. But you've got a PC. You've got a Steam library. You buy things on there.
Right. Steam Deck. I got a Steam Deck.
You have a Steam Deck. Okay? You have a Steam Deck, and you can plug that in to your TV and play all the games on your PC and your Steam library. Maybe not at like PC graphics.
No, not even close.
But fine.
Yes.
Acceptable, completely acceptable, right? And you can sit on your couch with that thing
Most
and
games.
basically play. Yeah, you can basically play your PC games.
There's a few
on your TV.
There's a few that I've played that are in my library, like Jedi
Right.
Fallen Order doesn't really look all that good, especially when you blow it up on TV.
Yeah.
That's more Steam Deck issues. A Steam Deck needs
Yeah. But okay, that's not the point. That's
for
not
the most
point.
part, yes. I can play
point
my
is-
library on the PC with good graphics, or on the go with my Steam Deck, or my TV with my Steam Deck.
Right. So I'm just using you as an example because that's what you have.
Yeah.
My point is, nobody had to worry about that whenever the PS4 was coming out, the PS4 Pro, and the Xbox One, the Xbox One, whatever the hell they were. I don't even remember. Nobody had to worry about these weird pocket PCs, basically. You know what I mean? These portable PCs. There's so many options. It's changed the game completely. There's so much stuff going on right now to where it's like, you don't need to have a PS5, and you definitely don't need an Xbox. You can still enjoy lots of shit on Xbox without even owning one.
Yeah, I think kind of what you're
Game Pass.
saying, maybe you're getting there. Consoles are dying.
I mean, right now,
and
they're just in a
consoles-
very weird place. You don't really need one.
And hold on, before everyone goes, "What are you talking about, Geeb?" What I mean is, even the consoles themselves are no longer consoles. And this is not my own thought. This was put into my head. Maybe it was one of Johnny's podcasts I was watching. I can't remember exactly where. I think it might have been one of Johnny's podcasts. But the thought was put into my head that consoles are kind of not consoles anymore. They're just not the Switch, but the other ones, PS5, Xbox. They're just gaming PCs in
basically
a marketable shell.
Yeah, and they're
with an operating
optimized
system.
for the games that are made by the studios.
Yeah, and that's a console. That's basically consoles, but the optimization is the console part. But
or the game, yeah, I mean, whatever. The games that come from whatever. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
You're not wrong. But here's the point. There's so much more competition now, and Xbox is not doing well with their console sales. PlayStation's doing fine. Obviously, the Switch is doing crazy shit. We know that. Wild shit. But I think you would be a fool to look at this and say that the Switch 2 is not going to have way more of a way harder time at this point with everything else that's out. Now, they got their first-party games, and that's what's going to really do it for them, as it always does. But the Switch didn't have to deal with any of this shit when it was released. They were the one that made this. They were the one that made this big craze of the handheld thing, and they're going to have to deal with it now too. We are in just a very strange place in gaming right now with all of these options. I think that's the thing. It's the options. You don't have to do an Xbox.
The line between
you don't have to do a PlayStation.
The line between a handheld device, between a console, between a gaming PC, all the ways you can play games. All those lines are being blurred. And especially like Xbox making this move to putting more of their games on other platforms. That's like what consoles had left in them. Consoles had the exclusives. That's what was. And this generation, Sony and Xbox have dropped the ball on exclusives and have made that market.
And they're putting them on PC now.
And have made that market harder to justify. People are going out like, which one am I going to buy? I don't know. What are the games like? It's like, well, they're kind of the same because both companies are struggling with their exclusives. On top of the fact, what did you just say? A second ago, you had said something. It was a really good interjection.
Oh, I said that they put them on PC anyway now.
Right. And on top of the fact that Sony is even being more generous these days and putting their games quicker on PC.
Oh, yeah. Well, and
Xbox
then, Helldivers 2 is a PlayStation game, and they dropped it on PC at the same time.
Yeah. So,
I mean, I don't think they're going to do that with all their first-party games, but they clearly are wanting to test it and see what happened.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think this is a good conversation, Drip, and I don't want to stop having it, but I think we should stop for now because this is not even what this episode is about. What this episode is about, Drip, is how this applies to the fact that gaming is dying. Or not dying. What was the title of the video? Hold on, I forget.
I feel like this is the conversation.
Might be, the worst year in gaming, Drip. How does this all pertain to the worst year in gaming?
I'm literally explaining it to you
right
now. This is why. Because, like you said, the lines are skewed. Nobody knows what the hell they're doing. The consoles aren't doing as well as they used to. I mean, PS5 is doing fine. Switch 2 is going to be fine, but it's not going to be what it was. It's not going to be what it was. And we may not even get it this year. PlayStation's not putting out any games this year. I mean, Xbox, I don't know what they're doing this year. They're just putting their games on everybody else's platform.
Here's the thing with Xbox. It's funny to me when people keep saying Xbox games because I get that they bought these studios, but these are not Xbox games. These are not.
No, they're studios owned by Microsoft. But
Halo is an Xbox game. That's like the OG.
Well, I mean,
Xbox. When you think of Xbox, I know, Dreb. Technically,
technically,
that was on Bungie, and Bungie is now a property of Sony. But Sony doesn't have the rights to Halo because Halo no longer is made by Bungie. It's made by the other one. But that's Microsoft now. But it's not Microsoft. It's them.
Well, actually, it's all Microsoft Studios. So,
yeah. So Microsoft doesn't really have. My point is, they really don't have games anymore. They've only purchased studios that they slap their name on, which that's like saying Amazon sells a bunch of stuff. They do kind of, but like all that stuff is not Amazon's goods. There's other people's goods that they sell on Amazon. That's kind of. I mean, it's not the same thing. It's not the same thing, but it's kind of.
It is though. It is. They bought the studios to make games for them to expand their studios. It doesn't matter. They still aren't putting out any games. Like they can own as much as they want. They're not putting out enough games, but it doesn't even matter. They're going to other platforms now. I mean, maybe not all, but I mean, that's. I think that's why this is going to be such a bad year. It has the potential to be a bad year. All those reasons. Things are just so confusing right now. The
delay of the Switch 2 potentially.
Potentially.
The announcement that Sony is not dropping games this year.
Yeah.
Xbox no fucking idea what they're doing.
PS5 Pro.
Right. Xbox having no idea what they're doing, except for maybe they do have an idea, and that idea is to abolish first party games I
think they may be the ones that actually come out of this. I think they may be the ones that come out of this like.
Well, I doubt that.
We made money. We did okay.
In my opinion, Drip, so Nintendo is not going to be the most profitable company as far as when you're comparing them to Sony and Microsoft in sort of the gaming divisions of those companies. But Nintendo is going to be possibly, when it's all said and done, maybe this generation or maybe next generation, maybe the generation after that, they might be the last console standing. And I'm not saying Sony is going to leave the game division. I mean, like Sony, man, they're going to be a service eventually themselves. They'll still sell. I think both companies, Xbox and Sony, they'll still sell hardware. Don't get me wrong, but Nintendo is going to be like the last real console with exclusives, with a lot of exclusives.
Well, because I can tell you that for sure.
With their own studios making their own games.
Hell
like Sony
will freeze over before
Xbox
you see
Studios
Mario
doesn't make any of these games. Sony is. I don't really know much about Sony's exclusive games, but. Are they making a lot? Is Sony Studios making a lot of exclusive games, or is studios that Sony bought?
I mean, that's all of them. I mean, that's all the studios they bought. But I mean, that's just how it is. I mean, Nintendo has other companies making games for them too.
Yes, no doubt.
It is what it is. I mean, sometimes they hire out, like we were talking about that last night, Grezzo, to remake games for them. So
I guess what I'm more saying there is like look at Nintendo. Like I know it's a Japanese culture thing mainly, but like they got people. The newest Mario that came out, there's people in the credits that made the first Mario game, that made the newest Mario game. Still, like I know they're in order to grow and make more money and make more games, you have to buy studios. You have to hire more people to work in your studios, like contracts. But I think you Drip at least get what I'm saying there is that like Nintendo might be the last console standing in terms and I'm not saying they're going to win the console wars. That's not what I mean. I mean like Sony and Xbox are going to really kind of do their own thing and Nintendo's going to be left still doing the same thing.
But they've been doing their own thing forever anyway.
Right. And it's just going to go even farther in the other directions. The other two Xbox already there and then Sony might follow them to compete and becoming services and selling hardware still, but mainly their focus on their services, what they offer, how you play the games, not necessarily.
Oh, and we see Sony doing that. They're trying to ramp up to what Xbox has already been doing for years and years and years, building Game Pass, building xCloud, all that stuff. But I mean, you're right about one thing. Nintendo will be the last holdout because you will not see Mario on a Sony machine or a Microsoft one doing anything anytime soon. That will be I mean, yeah, like I was about to say, hell will freeze over before that happens.
Yeah. I mean,
no way.
It's possible maybe in a decade, maybe a decade and a half, that like Metroid is a franchise they consider branching out with. And then they start with maybe like Mario Party.
I don't think so, man.
You know, I'm saying it's possible that's where they might start.
Unless something terrible happens.
If Nintendo conforms to where gaming's going, that's what they might start doing. And Mario's still gonna be many years in the road. But it's possible they never do. It's possible that Nintendo will never ever, as long as it's still the same people making the same decisions, and then those people breed the next generation of people who make those decisions, like they have been with Nintendo. That's the way the process works there. It's going to be the same thing for a long, 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 long time. And Sony and Microsoft might go off and do their own thing, and Nintendo might be the only company. Actually, Joe, if you think about it, it's kind of the opposite. Nintendo is going to stay put of how they believe the gaming market should run, and the other two are running off and doing their own thing, changing the game. You know, getting rid of physical discs possibly in the future, games as a service, maybe even the consoles will start going to wayside, and it's going to be just like streaming hardware that they sell. Who knows where it's actually going to end up going?
Yeah. Oh,
but it's already partly there. Sony makes the handheld.
That's what I want,
streaming
man.
thing.
I mean, that's why I like Nintendo so much anyway. Is because they've always just kind of done their own thing. You know? I mean, yeah. I don't care what anybody says. Lots of people, they're not in competition with
Microsoft or Sony.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. They make video games. Yes, the fuck they are. The same games come to all three platforms. Not all of them, but they are. They do it different, though, and they always have. They don't just sit and do, because, I mean, for a while, it was Xbox and Microsoft just doing the same thing, doing the same thing, doing the same thing. But we do see it. Like, all three of them are just kind of like, they're just going off, you know? They're doing their own things. They're going, they're growing up. They're getting out of the house, going to college.
Yeah. Starting
to become just young adults, It's a very beautiful thing. Beautiful thing watching them grow up.
It is.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know where else to go with that, but it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the rest of the year, especially with all the bullshit that now we're hearing for like next month.
Which is,
as far as Nintendo goes,
remind us.
The stuff I was talking about earlier, that sometime in early March, or early April, we're going to get an Indie World now.
Okay,
but like I said, the original thing was we're supposed to be getting a Nintendo Switch 2 announcement at that point.
Now it's an Indie World.
Yeah, it's an Indie World. How do you feel about that? And then the Direct in April, so it would actually be a Nintendo Direct in April. And then the Switch 2 reveal in June. That's the newest.
Why?
That's the newest one,
My question is, why didn't he direct at all? I think that's somebody just trying to make an excuse or trying to put something in a slot that maybe there's nothing there anymore, because their initial idea was Switch 2 was there, but now they're like, well, actually that's being pushed. So let's just guess that there's an Indie World now instead, we had a partner direct, and it will be too soon for a real direct. So Dart says Indie World.
Yeah, as a brand new leaker myself, I'm going to go ahead and debunk all this right now and say this is all probably false. An Indie World, maybe, just because that makes sense, sort of. A Direct in April, though, that doesn't really make sense. Because, like you said, what's going to be in it? What are they going to put in a Direct in April? They don't have any games.
The last two things, we've talked about this multiple times at this point, last few weeks. Luigi's Mansion port. And
that's it.
1,000 Year Door remake.
Yep.
That's the only. That's what we got. And that's what Nintendo has coming in the docket for 2024.
But didn't you tell me? Was it the pre-show or was it in the actual podcast that you are now hearing from somewhere that Metroid Prime 4 is coming out in 2024?
It's from the same people who leaked that Mickey game that came out today, or was announced today. So that's I was watching Zach's video today, and right before the podcast, basically, and this new information was dropping. Live time. And I was like, oh, shoot, we have to add this to the show. So, like, it's possible that Metroid Prime 4 is coming out in 2024 still, according to the same people who got the Mickey leaks right, because we got that game today. So,
yeah, that's an odd one,
if they're right about that, the logic is people are using is they're probably right about Metroid Prime 4 coming out this year as well. That would, to me, that there's no way that's true unless the Switch 2 is out this year as well. And that's a release game. That's the only way that's possible. There's no way in God's green earth that they're putting Metroid Prime 4 out for the Nintendo Switch, and then like a month later, 2 months later, possibly going, and there's a Switch 2 coming out.
But
I already think I know where you're at. I think I'm already in your brain
about,
about
this before, and it just came back to my head. We talked about this before. No, they will, and then they'll be like, and here's the Switch 2, and also here's the Switch 2 version of Metroid Prime 4, and it's $70. Like, can we upgrade? No, it's $70. Please, no. I 70 mean, more.
Nintendo has been known to take a buck or two from our pockets, heave it right out, reach on in.
We up-resed it and ported it over to the Switch 2.
That would be a crime. Just like
we ported over all the Wii U games to the Switch. We'll go ahead and port Metroid Prime 4 that just released for the Switch over to the Switch 2 for you.
That would be
for $70.
a literal crime, Drip, like an actual crime against humanity.
That would be fucked up, but I would not put it past them.
If they were to put a game out in the last couple months of the Switch's life and then very quickly turn around and say, here's another console, and you can buy the same game again that you just bought this year. Buy it again.
It's not $70.
It's $80.
$90. It's $90 because it's HD and it comes with all the DLC. It's the ultimate. It's the ultimate
edition. That's
the
very
ultimate
possible.
edition.
That's real possible. I don't know.
It's all new DLC for the Switch 2 version.
That would hurt me if they tried to do that. It would hurt me in a special place. But I'm hoping that they're not going to do that to us. Maybe a year in advance they do that kind of thing. Like if Metroid Prime came out last year, and then this year's they're like, okay, here's Switch 2 and here's release game Metroid Prime 4. You loved it so much in the last year. Play it, buy it again now. That's too short of a time span. I don't think they would do that. That's so shitty. That's just so shitty.
It's terrible. It is. No, it's awful. I don't know. But all I'm saying is it could come out this year, and that's how. They'll just release the Switch version, and then later on we'll get a Switch 2 version.
Yeah.
I mean, or they could be nice and just say, it's fine. This is one of the new games that's going to be cross-platform, and it will do like Xbox does with some of their stuff. It's called Smart Delivery. Right. It just knows, like, okay, there's a better version of this game. I can just do that one. That's the version we'll do. It's possible, especially with all the AI shit they're going to have in there. Who knows? Yeah.
I don't know. Depending on how the rumors go with that, we might bring that up again next week. That might be the focus, depending on how the information comes out the next week or so.
God, let's do that. Can we play a little game before we do anything here?
Hit the music.
Got a little game for you. This is going to be a short one, but I want to ask you something.
I have an answer.
At this time next week, how many new dates will there be for the Switch 2 announcement?
So that's
how many?
The 28th of February is next week. We'll say the rest of February because that's 8 days.
Okay, let's go. For the rest of February, how many more time frames are we going to get a release? Not a release. I want an announcement.
Right.
Just an announcement, not a release. When is it going to be announced? How many more times is this going to change?
What's the current one that we're at?
Fuck, I don't know. 3,
it's
5,
it's a hard game to
20?
play, Drip, because it's a new date every day essentially, and people are swapping stuff around. The only thing that stays constant is
how many? Give me a number.
Coming. Oh man. I say 3 more dates. 3 more dates the next 8 days.
I'm gonna go 5.
5.
I'm gonna go 5.
That's nearly a day to day, Drip.
I know. I'm not afraid of it.
Keep tuned into RGT and Zach Switchforce and all these guys who are making this stuff. As soon as that news drops, they make a video and we watch it. That's how I give my information.
I'm gonna be tallying it up.
We'll count it up. We'll see who's right. Probably not though. But guys, this has been a fun one. Drip as always. Thank you, man. Those of you in the chat, we'll do a quick little pre-show for you. Or I'm sorry, an after show, that one. But for you guys listening on the audio side of things, we will see you guys next week.
Later.